I'm Megan DeFord.
And I'm Richard Talafera.
We're both coaches, and we're teaming up to have the kind of conversations we have with our clients. The sometimes messy, always meaningful, what now questions we all face.
In each episode, we'll take on a question or challenge about work, purpose, and all the spaces in between.
Think of it like the show Frasier, but with less neuroses and more real-world coaching.
So let's dive in.
So part 2 of no. In part 1, we explored how we feel when we get a no, how we feel when we say a no. And part of what we had been talking about was really depersonalizing that no in some ways, right? Like we don't want to be so brittle that a no breaks us. We don't want to be so personal to a no that we overextend ourselves and don't honor ourselves. And that no can be a complete statement. No can be a data point that helps us get to a yes much faster. But in that conversation, I think is a nice next step of no and what's going on there. And you were talking about taking imperfect actions. And one of the other pieces that we talked about in the last episode was about judgment and safety. And I think those pieces with no are so critical.
They're tied
And
into this. Yeah.
right into it. And so I think if we can start with judgment and safety as the feelings that we have or perceptions around no, and then we can get to procrastination and then ultimately our goal, which is imperfect action. So-
Exactly. Love the sound of that. I mean, when we say no, we're scared of people judging us. We're scared of people seeing us as more than them,
Right.
or maybe sometimes even less than them.
Mhm.
And so what ends up happening is that no becomes a yes, and that yes is actually go along to get along.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't leak into our values at that point,
Yeah.
because we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to make people angry. And so we end up shrinking ourselves.
Mhm.
We make ourselves less than who we really are
Mhm.
to make other people happy.
Right.
Or at least that's the perception of that.
I
And
agree. Yeah.
yeah,
100%. Don't shrink
right.
yourself. Trust the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
Love that.
second side of this is for people that you may not have a close relationship with, right? And there is sort of that danger there. Remind yourself, if I'm shrinking myself for this group or this person, and they may be perfectly wonderful people, but if you
Mhm.
can't live in your best authentic value aligned self, what does that tell you?
Right.
They're not your
Maybe
people, and that's
they're not
okay.
your people, and that's fine. And, and having to separate yourself from that group is hard, but at the same time, it's your values are a compass,
Right.
and they're telling you something.
Right.
They're telling you that this isn't working out.
Right.
This isn't it's something that you can feel in your body,
Yeah.
right?
And when
And
it
so
comes to people, I think there's safety, right? There is a safety piece. And like I joked getting voted off the island, but it really is true where you are being ostracized from a group and we are humans, we live in community, and that presents danger. But at the end of the day, you really know if you're shrinking yourself, if you're biting your tongue, you're not living your full self, there's a reason for that.
yeah,
And
and you can tell in your body that there's something not lining up here.
yeah,
And the question becomes, how much longer are you going to stay misaligned?
hmm
And what is that misalignment costing you?
correct.
And then it becomes, okay, what what do I do next? What
Right,
do I do now?
right.
And then having difficult conversation with somebody
hmm
may be the next step. There's
Or with yourself.
or with yourself. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. There's a great book, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of this. It's called Crucial Conversation, and it's a wonderful book. And the great story behind it is it was originally published as a business book.
Mhm.
How to have difficult conversations in the workplace, but it expanded out beyond the workplace to our own lives, our own relationships, our own friendships. And it was a guide for people to have to sit down with somebody they hadn't talked to in years
Mhm.
and have that conversation. And if we're in a situation, we're in a workplace, we're having issues with somebody, we do have this overwhelming drive to stay together in community.
Mhm.
But what is the point at which we have that crucial conversation with somebody and say, "Hey, we've got a disagreement. We need to figure out how to work on it,
Mhm.
and how can we compromise to make our teams, our relationship better."
Right. Right. And I actually am thinking back, and I'm curious if the book talks about this, our conversation with Michael, and being really clear with the language and making sure that everyone involved in the conversation understands what we're
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
Because you may be going to someone and think you're saying whatever it is. And his
Mhm.
example was like, I think you need to go home. And the person went home and he thought he had let that person go. And the person showed up the next day. Right. And so
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
sure that when you are having these crucial conversations, you're not shying away from what you actually mean
Mhm.
and couching it with language, which is sort of what I was talking about before, because that's
Yeah.
really just about your comfort. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean you can't be thoughtful. It doesn't mean you can't be kind. But I think there also needs to be clarity in these conversations.
Brene Brown says, "Clear is kind."
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Clear is kind. And I think the other piece of this too is it's why we stay in jobs too long. It's why we stay in relationships too long.
Mhm.
It's why we repeat patterns that we know aren't good for ourselves and don't even want, but we keep doing it. Is there is safety in knowing what the outcome is, even when it's not what we want, right? And so having that conversation in this context can feel so unsafe because I know that okay, well if I don't have the conversation, I'm just going to be annoyed, but I can just keep getting this done and blah 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 whatever.
Mhm.
Versus have that conversation, it may turn out way better than you thought it ever could.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
there's a little bit of it's unsafe. You don't know how that person's going to react. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. And
Mhm.
so safety, I think, is a huge part of this.
Yeah.
And I think it also goes with what we were talking about before with judgment. And I'll give myself as an example of one of the things that I am working on is speed. And so why am I working on speed with things? Because I will perfect things to death and I will not get them done because Richard, they
Yeah.
have to be perfect for me
Letter
to do
perfect,
them.
all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed, can't go out the
It
door.
has to be perfect and I need
Yeah.
to refine it and refine it and refine it and refine it. And I do enjoy that, but then it doesn't get out there.
Yeah. Right. I
So
mean,
what am I doing in that pattern? If I
yeah.
don't put it out there and no one sees it, no one's
Mhm.
judging me.
Nobody's judging you, and nobody is being helped by you.
Correct. And that's the flip side. And there's actually Adrienne Weimer, who's on LinkedIn. I really like her a lot. I'm gonna just read this really quickly. I have it up. I'm sitting at my desk and I'm looking up at my corkboard. And it's here because I have to remind myself of this. Have you ever seen a lighthouse apologize for being too bright? Of course not. It doesn't dim itself just because a few ships might criticize the glare. It stands tall, beam gazing, built to guide the right ships home. That's you. Your visibility It isn't even about you. It's about people searching for your light, hoping for a
Mm,
sign it's safe to step forward.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I have to read that to myself because I'm like, you are going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect.
Mhm.
Some people might not like what you're putting out,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
flip side of this too, and we talked about this in the last episode, is I'm excited about it. I want to see what happens. Like, I like all of my posts, and as I do it, I'm like, I do like that.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's always going to be that yokel who's going to, roll their eyes at
Yeah,
whatever you post. Fine, go
they're
off
not my
and do your own
person.
thing. But, and there's that one person, excuse me, who you may never hear from them. They read your post every time it comes out
Yeah,
and they're like, this is going to make my day.
yeah,
That's the person to aim for.
yeah. And I think about it too, and I'm saying this so people can apply it to their lives because I think so much of what we talk about in the coaching world is generic because until we get into it with our clients, it is kind of these upper level things. So every time I also get concerned about putting things out there, I think about all of the amazing services that I have used and paid for
Mhm.
from people because I heard them on a podcast. Because, like you said, I've read their newsletter for 6 months and I'm like, you know what? I do want to take their course, or I do want to buy this,
Yeah,
or they've referred me to someone that they love. And I'm like, oh, I love their stickers too, right?
yeah.
It's so interesting when we can detach ourselves from it, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm
Yeah.
cheering these people on. They don't know who I am, but like I'm cheering them on. I'm like, you're great. And I'm going to support you financially if I can, sharing you, whatever, applying your work to my life.
Mhm.
However, I can help support, I'm going to. Why not me? Why
Hey,
can't,
such a great question. Why
right?
not you?
Right. And so when I detach myself from the idea of if you make a mistake, people are going to judge your ability and your credibility. You know what? Like, I won't cuss. I am a cusser, but forget that. I have 20 years
Mhm.
of experience. Like, I'm not going into this lightly. And even if I had no experience and I'm just putting it out there in the world, like, I am creating something in good faith and it's going to be at the best of my ability now and it's going to get better. When I
Yeah.
started my newsletter, and I look back on it and it was like really bad. It wasn't great. I didn't know exactly what I was
Mhm.
talking about, but I had to get through that in order to get to where I am now, which I like it.
Right.
And I guarantee you in 2 years, I'm going to be like, oh my God, that's what I was writing. But that's okay. It's
Mhm.
an iterative process.
Exactly. And I think some of that is we expect to be perfect from jump,
Yes.
and it's not going to happen that way. And you just have to, like you said, iterate, just
Yeah.
work on it and work on it. And I want to touch on something about perfection. And
Sorry.
I want to touch on something about perfection. And it's something I've struggled with, even after I've left the journal, the Wall Street Journal. And it's being there, being in that newsroom is like playing the Super Bowl every day.
Mm,
You can't mess up. Cannot mess up. The stakes are too high.
yeah.
Too many people are watching you. And that way of thinking really was a part of still is a part of me, but very much in the beginning was a part of me. And in beginning of my coaching and my
Yeah.
putting posts out on social media, it was a part of who I was. And I guess I could call myself a recovering perfectionist. And I I have gotten better at not allowing that perfectionism to quiet my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what perfectionism can be, that
Mm-hmm.
quieting of my voice. I have things I want to say, things that I want to write about, and maybe I'll misspell a word every so often. Maybe somebody will dislike what I say, but I find and I see that I've got a responsibility
Mhm.
to put myself out there in the world
Mhm.
because because you never know who's watching you and who needs your help.
And you owe it to yourself to get that out there.
Right. Yes. So much of what I tend to publish is me talking to me,
Oh, yeah,
you know?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've written about procrastination, perfectionism, and all sorts of things. And some weeks it's I need to hear this week.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And I think the other piece of that too is it makes us better. And I
Yeah.
talk about this all the time. Myself, I take things way too personally. And if
Mm,
I can separate it, and that's stuff that I've worked in therapy, like I know where it's coming from. I have skills that I work through. And what I try and do is flip it. And so if you can think about yourself how you would think about your best friend or a child
mm,
or someone you're
mhm.
mentoring or someone on your team, talk to yourself like you would talk to them. There's
Yeah.
actually a study that's been done that women will negotiate higher salaries for a job for their friends than they will for themselves.
Wow.
And so if you take that concept and you apply it to yourself of, I don't expect any of my friends to be perfect. I'm out here going, yeah, you misspelled it, but I read it because you got it out. Like, amazing, right? And so if we can start talking to ourselves that way, or you might say that your friend, and I think I've given this example before. I've had friends who have seen a post or have seen something and are like, hey, have you thought about this? Or when I clicked on this, it didn't work. Can you
Mm,
edit it or whatever? Right.
mm.
I'm not like, oh my God, they hate me. I'm like, oh, they read it. I'm so glad. And I'm glad they
Yeah.
let me know. Right.
Yes.
Like they're not
Yeah.
saying, Megan, you suck. This didn't work. They want me to get better too. So we have to
That's
really
great.
reframe that. And something you
Mhm.
said as well, I think many of us can relate to. And I am someone who really appreciates a high level of excellence. And there's probably a lot more therapy I need to go through to explore that. But I really
Yeah.
do performing on a high level, whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That can also ruin your nervous system.
Yes.
And
Yes.
especially when I never defined it for myself, even within those environments.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it definitely destroyed my nervous system. I performed at that level for so long until I couldn't anymore.
Right. And that's
And
burnout.
it's total burnout. And I mean, I couldn't even send an email because what if it's not perfect? What if they take it the wrong way? Now I've waited too long. Now they're going to be like, well, why is she sending this 2 days late? Whatever. Like
Mhm.
the what ifs were so loud in my head. And I guess what I'm saying about that as well is don't, that is not an environment you can thrive in. And you talk about this a lot. Rest is important.
Absolutely. It is because we have to give ourselves time and space
Yeah.
to disconnect
Yeah.
from the matrix,
Yeah.
as it were,
Yeah.
and to really understand and to hear ourselves. We're both runners,
Mhm.
but I don't know about you, but I find the most important exercise I do is actually walking
Mhm.
because when I'm walking, I can sort of hear myself a little bit more. I'm not grinding my joints to
Right.
sand. I'm not struggling to get to the next corner.
Yeah.
And just getting that time to recharge and
Mhm.
reset. Sit on a couch, no phone or anything, and just give yourself like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Those things can help us reset and help us hear the stories that we're telling ourselves
Mhm.
and to make sure that, and to give ourselves an opportunity to be gentle with ourselves
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we don't necessarily have a chance to.
And when we're living in that space of judgment and feeling unsafe, it
Mm,
is it feels impossible to stop. It feels impossible to stop and think. It
Mhm,
feels
mhm.
impossible to stop and rest. And in the corporate world, really bad habits are rewarded, right? And so you do
Yeah.
have to define that for yourself. But if you
Mhm,
can take a step back and figure out, what is this trying to tell me? What is
mm.
this feeling
Yes.
trying to tell me? And take a step back. And then what is my next best step? So I love what you were saying, like taking
Yes.
imperfect action.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
goal here for the email to be perfect, or is the goal for the email to go out?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's okay, maybe you missed a comma somewhere, maybe misspelled a word, just get it out the door.
yeah. When you start reframing of what is the next best step? What is the
Mm,
most important thing?
mhm,
No doesn't feel so personal. You haven't you haven't lived in your head with it that long.
mhm.
And so I think that next imperfect step
Yeah.
is really important, and understanding as well and giving yourself permission that every no, every mistake, it's
Mhm.
just getting you to a better place. And
Yeah.
I laugh about this all the time. It's like I have two kids. We've all seen little kids trying to babies learn to walk, right? And I've never seen anybody be like, God, what a dumb baby, doesn't know how to walk. Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
that person is
Well,
crazy, right? And
yeah,
but we do it to ourselves all the time. We
we
do it
need
to
to start.
ourselves all the time. And I'm not
Mm,
talking about not
yeah.
taking ownership. That's not what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
What I'm talking about is we do have to stumble, we do have to fail. The ultimate failure is not applying it and moving forward.
Right. It's like we need to talk to ourselves like we talk to our little babies when they're trying
Yeah.
to walk.
Yeah.
Be more supportive of ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
and so that taking imperfect action, taking the next step, and
Mhm.
action leads to clarity. And
Yeah,
it's just like running, it's just like anything else, it's doing the reps.
yeah.
Be
And
confident in the fact that you are not gonna be good at first at anything, no matter how
mhm.
many years of experience you have, and
Yeah,
you're always coming from experience,
yeah.
but let
Yeah,
yourself play with it. Like you talked about before, play with it, have fun with it. Like,
right. And Tom has told me a couple of times when, sometimes you get in a situation you're like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do?" You know, and this goes alongside taking imperfect action. Sometimes the best thing to do is to do the next right thing
yes, yes.
and continue to build on those things. And he gave me this advice when I was laid off.
Mhm.
And because you're in that situation where you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? It's just the next right thing and the
Mhm.
next right thing and keep stacking those.
Yes.
Oh,
And one of the things, it's exactly the right way to think about it, and you are not externalizing your power in those situations where you feel
yeah.
very powerless.
Hmm.
And I forgot who said this to me, but we were talking about anxiety, and they said anxiety overemphasizes the problem and undervalues your ability to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so when I start getting into those like what ifs, right? Like all these what ifs for whatever situation, whether it's personal, professional, whatever, I'm like, where is this coming from? And what's the best next step?
Yeah.
And Tom's advice is again, recentering it to yourself.
Yeah. And, you know, with all the things happening around us, it's, it's a
Yeah.
hurricane things. You are the center of the storm.
Hmm.
In Florida, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's you are the eye of the storm, and always remember the eye of the storm
Yep.
is the calmest part of it,
Yeah.
and center into that. It's like
Hmm.
everything's happening around me, but I'm still here. I'm still centered. I'm still ready to serve people.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
The Olympics are wrapping up. And I
Mm.
think what's so impressive about Olympic athletes is they know when to peak. and
Yes.
and that training, hopefully you're peaking at the Olympics, and there's a lot, as everybody knows, there's a lot to get you there, right? And there's a lot of injuries, there's a lot of recovery time, a lot of practice getting the reps in. and knowing when to speed up, when to slow down. And I think as we're thinking about these conversations, it's also understanding it where we are in our lives. And again, with that next best step,
Mhm.
maybe the goal is the Olympics, but you don't wake up one day and then go to the Olympics the next day. What's
No,
the
no.
best next step?
All those people have it's taken them years.
Mhm. And they
Yeah,
have systems. They have
and they have
systems in place.
yes,
So
they have
when they get hurt and are recovering, that recovery is still related to the ultimate goal. And like what
right.
you were saying about meditation, which I could do a whole session on meditation, talk about like an imperfect action. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
But I am someone, and I'll give you an example of this. Meditation has really changed my life in terms of centering, and not even in a bad way when it's, oh, I want to do this and this and this and this. And I get all excited about all these different things. And I have to bring myself back to center, right? But I use it in my daily life. I was brushing my teeth and I have like the toothbrush that has the timer on it. And I was like,
Mhm.
God, this 2 minutes is taking forever. And I was like, just meditate. Like that's a signal of your brain going way too fast right now.
Yeah.
Take this time. And so I found a drishti in my like a place of focus in my bathroom and
Mhm.
practiced it. So you have to have those systems and containers
Mhm.
to support yourself through all of this. It's not easy work. This is
No.
not easy work. And it's so much
Yeah.
easier just to dig into physical work that you're doing or dig
Mhm.
into the hiding because you just got knocked down and you're just like living in the problem, right?
True.
It's
Yeah.
hard to center yourself and to move forward in a way that's intentional.
I think you said it right there in that it's a practice
Mm-hmm.
and you're not it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And when, tying it back to, you know, part one, you know, saying no is a practice
Yes.
and you're going to have to, and it's almost like a craft, it's like woodworking or
Yep.
what have you. It takes time to get it right.
Yeah. And
We got to guarantee that time.
know why you're saying it.
Yeah.
Have intention behind your yes and your no and your maybe, and be curious. I think that is just like a huge part of it. And
What's happening?
and yeah, I feel like we could just keep talking about this, but I think really understanding if you're feeling that discomfort, where is that discomfort coming from? Are you externalizing?
Hmm?
Are you thinking about your safety? Are you worried about judgment? What does that ultimately stem from? And how do you build systems around that to bring you back to center? Because you are loved, you are valuable, you have self-worth outside of whatever you produce, outside of
Mhm.
what anyone thinks of you.
Yes.
And
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 always
really
believe
getting
that.
excited about your dreams and your goals and what you want to do, whatever that is, right?
Mhm.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
And the imperfect action is like the most beautiful way of saying
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be
It
perfect.
don't have to be perfect, but let's keep moving forward, even if it's just one step.
Yep. And sometimes moving forward is staying still. So
True. Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
it all depends on context. But yeah, I think that imperfect action is amazing, and just learning from that and applying it to your life. So crucial conversations, good book recommendation. I love
Yes.
that. Love that. We'll have to dig into that a little bit more. And I think putting these two conversations together of no, how you react to no, how you think about no, and then what?
And then what? And I think people will give them permission to say no to something that's not serving them
Mhm.
and to help them move forward.
Yeah. Or to say thank you for the no.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. I'm a big believer of life gives you the lesson until you learn it.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
that's a tough one for
It's a
me, but
very difficult one. Yeah.
sometimes the universe is telling you no, like you said, for a reason of you're shrinking yourself. This isn't the right next step. But the only way you know that is if you take action on it. So
Take action, take the imperfect action. Maybe you stumble
yeah.
like that baby, but the babies always get back up and try.
Yay, get back up. You're okay. Listen to me.
Okay.
You can put this as your ringtone. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Richard,
All
thank
right.
you so much. This was a great conversation.
I really enjoyed it, and I know people are gonna get a lot out of this.